Hi everyone, and welcome to my ketovore life. This is my new weight journey channel, and I'm so glad that you've decided to join me. I hope you decide to subscribe, click the little bell icon so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. I am going to try to get as many as I can done in a week. We'll see what happens, a couple times a week. But I wanted to start by introducing myself, tell you about my weight loss journey. My name is Melanie. I live in Northwest Ohio. I've lived here my whole life. I'm going to be 51 next month. I am a mother to 7 kids. My youngest 3 are still at home. The oldest 4 are out on their own. My weight loss journey. I have always been heavy. I wasn't like obesely heavy as a kid. I was just a little thicker than most of the girls. Nothing too worrisome about, I guess. But as I got older and got into adolescence, I really started putting on the weight. I was emotional eating because I was bored, eating because I was stressed. It was just me and food. Food was my best friend. By the time I graduated high school, I was close to 200 pounds. Now I'm about 5'11", so I'm tall. I'm just under 6 foot tall. So I've always heard, I can't believe if I would tell somebody how much I weighed, oh, well, you're so tall, you can't really tell kind of thing, because, 185 looks different on a person who's 5'11" than a person who's 5'2", which it does, but that doesn't matter. I still felt bad. I had a very low self-esteem, but I had this bad food addiction. I was eating all the wrong things, all the junk food. Even when I got out on my own, it was worse because now, and we all know how it is, and I worry about that with my own kids, now that we're not under mom and dad's roof, and they are the ones who have the food come in, they buy at the grocery store. I'm on my own now. I can buy what I want. And what did I go for? I went for all the snacks and the good things like donuts and cakes, and was ordering pizzas and cookies, all this stuff I didn't get when I lived at home with mom and dad. I'm going to go get it. And it just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. That, after getting married and having a total of 7 kids, I was up to 325, 26, 27, somewhere in there. I got to the point where I just quit weighing myself anymore. I knew I was fat. Okay. I was morbidly obese. I didn't like my picture taken. I still don't like my picture taken. I was embarrassed. I was in my 40s with arthritis, with high blood pressure. It was hard for me to go out and do things with the kids. And I knew I had these issues. My doctor knew I had these issues. And then after my last child, I was diagnosed with thyroid condition called hypothyroidism and hashimotos. Now, at first, I have markers for both. Hyperthyroidism, which is a faster acting thyroid, and hypo. And because of my history, they're thinking at first I had hyperthyroidism when I had my 3rd daughter. Because after I had her, and I was still a big girl, I wasn't doing anything different than I hadn't done over the years, but I was just losing weight like crazy before I had my 4th one. I had lost 40 pounds. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't doing anything. And that's kind of what happens with hyperthyroidism. You lose weight without doing anything, and hypothyroidism, your body tends to gain weight. So I started with hyper, but then after just like 6 months to a year after being diagnosed with that, the doctor's like, my blood test, and now, I'm seeing markers for hypo. So basically, in a nutshell, my thyroid is out of whack. So I had all these issues, but not one of my doctors that I was seeing was addressing the overall condition, what was causing my symptoms, which was my weight. I'm like, you can tell me I keep getting bigger or that my weight is unhealthy. But nobody's saying, or suggesting anything I could do. So I just took it upon myself. I mean, I knew what I could do, but I had this food addiction. I mean, there was so much going into it about why I was eating the way I was eating. You know, like I said, the stress, it was emotional, addiction, and I wasn't seeing any help for that. And I was just pushing it off. You know, and I have tried every diet and weight loss and fitness routines that there was. I mean, I tried Weight Watchers, I tried Nutrisystem, I've done the Slim Fast, I've done curves. You know, you go and work out and you do the little circle thing and change stations. I went to my local hospital to their workout thing, and nothing was working. So finally I said something to my endocrinologist, because my family doctor wasn't even addressing this. He was just pushing the high blood pressure pills. About, okay, it's time for me to address the weight, because what happened is that I reached my highest at the doctor's office, 300, I'm going to say 27. And I said, it's got to stop, because I'm just going to keep going and going and going. And by the end of the year, I'm going to be 350. And I didn't want to get there. Because like I said, I never weighed myself, and I was really surprised I was at 327. Because at my last physical, the year before, I was just over 300, like 302. I'm like, this is going to be never ending. I've got to do something. So my endocrinologist said, well, I can set you up with a nutritionist. This was probably around 2016, I'm going to say. And the nutritionist was very knowledgeable of what she was talking about, her knowledge, what she was taught. And she was pushing a lot of the whole grains, chicken, meat, any protein was like the palm of your hand serving. And the rest was to be full of like vegetables and the whole grain. And she wanted me to have like 200 carbs a day, something like that. I don't remember. And like 5 meals a day, maybe. What? I think a meal and a snack, a meal and a snack, a meal and a snack. And I had to journal everything down. At the same time, I'm working out. That's when I was going to the hospital. I get up early in the morning before everybody woke up. I go out there, sweat my butt off, treadmill, and I'm just working. 3 months into it, I had lost 10 pounds. And I'm like, this ain't working. And I couldn't eat what she was wanting me to eat, for the fact of, you know, I was still hungry. It wasn't filling me up, or I just didn't, if I didn't like feel like eating that day, you know, I was like, I have to eat. You know, it's breakfast time. I have to eat breakfast, or it's lunchtime and I have to eat. I got to write this stuff down. And it was a mess. It was a mess. So I just quit going. Now you could start to see a change. People were noticing that I was losing weight, even though it was 10 pounds. But something wasn't right. Something didn't feel right to me. So I went another year. I gained all that weight back. Still eating the donuts, fast food, all the things. And then I was like, okay, it's time to do something. It was in August of 2018. And a family member was on a diet, and I had heard him vaguely talk about it, and I really didn't pay attention. And I went and asked, and they were going like, yeah, it's keto. And I had somewhat heard about keto, but most I heard was the negative that people were saying about it. And I'm like, oh, it's just another one of those fad diets, keto, whatever. She's like, well, she had some books, and I started reading the books, and I wasn't going to start anything right away. And I did my research. And saying that, I just want to tell you guys, I am not a medical professional, a nurse, a doctor, or anything. And I am not telling you that this is what you need to do and it's going to change and do these things for you. I have found what's working for me. So I want you guys to do your research and find out what works for you. Because what works for me is not going to necessarily work for you. Every body is different. Okay? So I'm just going to say that. And always check with your doctor, especially, you know, you're on high blood pressure or you're diabetic, you know, when it comes to changing your diet and eating things, always go to your doctor. Be upfront with them and tell them what you would like to do on your diet. So anyway, so I looked into this keto, and I was doing a lot of research, and I kept being brought back to Maria Emmerich and her husband Craig, and also Dr. Berg. And I started following them, and I was seeing people's testimonies, and before and afters, and what they were saying about it. And then, like I said, I got a hold of one of Maria's cookbooks, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try this. I mean, I always knew I just had to cut out the bad stuff, but it was just getting started. And how was I going to do that? And plus, I'm married. I've got kids. How is that all going to work? Because they eat all the bad stuff too. So long story short, I first off just stopped the pop. I stopped the pop and I stopped the bread. I stopped the bread, the junk food, and the pop. That's all I did different. Okay? And I know my first weight that came off was water weight, but it was a lot. I had no idea. I had never really heard of inflammation. Okay? I thought I was just a big ball of fat. I didn't realize how swollen and inflamed I was. And that was leading to a lot of my aches and pains and not feeling good and everything else. So I'd say in my first 2 weeks, I lost close to 12 pounds. And of course, it was just all water weight. I mean, nobody loses that. Hardly anybody loses that much fat. And I knew ahead of time. I knew starting out, I didn't gain all this weight overnight. I'm not going to lose it all overnight. Because discouragement is another one of my problems, is getting discouraged easy. So, and not weighing yourself every day. I mean, maybe at the beginning you want to see it, but that can get discouraging too, because your weight's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, and you don't want to get discouraged. So, after 2 weeks of that, and I saw that it was working, and I was like, okay, now what? And I just went all in. And I started out with keto. I started following Maria Emmerich. I must have every single book that she's ever written, by herself and with other people. All her keto recipe books. I started following Dr. Berg and some of his recommendations, and the weight just started coming off. I cut out, and it wasn't hard. I didn't want to go back to it. I stopped the pop. I didn't miss it. I stopped the bread. I didn't miss it. Now, I did start off making the keto breads. And I started to look for the keto products in the store. Don't do that. I learned the hard way that even though it says keto or high protein, it's not really keto. It's not. Okay, so in later videos, I will show you some products that I have found that do work, that are help at least on your journey. And they're clean, they're considered keto, carnivore, and I'll show them to you in another video. So I followed Dr. Berg, I started Maria Emmerich, and the weight was falling off. I was not exercising at all, and the weight was coming off. I was, like I said, making like Maria Emmerich's egg white protein breads. I just never got the hang of it. I mean, it was good. I don't know. It was just hard for me to make. I'm not really a good baker anyway. So I started following other people. And then so that was August of 2018, and their weight was coming off. People were noticing. And like I said, I wasn't exercising. And then I started following other people. And then I started realizing how keto could help with the thyroid. And as I kept doing my research, I was like, you know what? People with thyroid, sometimes there's certain foods that, because of autoimmune, that's what I had, an autoimmune disease. Some foods can irritate, or you can be sensitive to certain foods because of your autoimmune and your thyroid. I was like, really? And I wasn't really counting my carbs. I wasn't doing my macros yet. And there's 3 macros: carbs, fat, and protein. And I wasn't counting them. I wasn't doing the little apps and all those. I was not intermittent fasting. I eventually got there. I was learning how to eat when I'm hungry. Just because the clock says 8 o'clock in the morning and it's breakfast time does not mean I have to eat. Just because the clock says noon or it's my lunch hour at work, even though if I'm not hungry, don't eat. And I was learning that. And I learned that I don't have to eat breakfast foods for breakfast. I mean, if I got hungry in the morning and I wanted a hamburger, eat a hamburger. I mean, it doesn't have to be eggs and, or pancakes or whatever. So I started doing that, and I started following more people. And the ketovore, and carnivore community, there is a lot of research, a lot of resources out there for you, and I hope you include me in that too. Some of the people that I started following back then and still follow, Dr. Barry and his wife Nisha. Nisha also has the thyroid issues. She's a mom who kept eating the same way, ketovore, even while pregnant. So Dr. Barry, Nisha, Steak and Butter Gal, Ketogenic Woman, the two crazy ketos, Joe and Rachel. I love them. Check them out. I'm trying to think. There's some new ones I've started following. Dr. Chafee. I started following Dr. Paul Saladino. I did hear about 6 months ago, think, okay, I'm going to start reintroducing some carbs, like some sweet potatoes and stuff like he was doing, because he found for his body, it responded to that. Yeah, mine gave mine a response that it was like, no, we don't want that. So I still follow him and listen to something he's got to say, but I decide for myself whether or not to do what he's doing. I mean, I know now what my body reacts to, and that's what I hope that you get to learn too also. I can't really think of, Laura Spath and Judy Cho. I follow them. I've got her book. Dr. Mindy Pouts, is it? Fast Like a Girl. Is that her latest book? Dr. Chung. I got his book. So eventually I went from keto to ketovore, where I was eating more meat than I was the vegetables. I was never a big vegetable eater anyway. Or fruit, really, except for like bananas. I love bananas and all those really sweet fruits, okay? So I just, when I would drop this stuff and I wouldn't miss it. And so I was doing ketovore, which was a little bit more meat than the vegetables. And the vegetables were like broccoli and cauliflower and stuff. And I got to a place where I was plateauing, and I was like, I got to do something. There's something I got to do. Because I mean, we will all come to that plateau, but it was lasting a really long time. And that's when I found Dr. Boz. And that's really when I got into the two crazy ketos. And I think they were doing their first BBB&E challenge. I'm like, you know what? That beef, butter, bacon, and eggs? Yes, I can. And I started doing that. And as soon as I started that, the weight started coming off. And then I started watching Dr. Boz and her whole ketogenic, high fat thing, because that's what keto really is, high fat. And I bought the Keto Mojo, and I still check my blood numbers, ketone numbers in the morning. So that's where I'm at. I'm more I'm more carnivore. Every once in a while, I'll add in something that I guess would be considered ketovore. I hate giving labels to it. But that's where I'm at right now. I mean, it's mostly beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I will eat chicken, fish, sardines right now. I've never had a sardine, and I thought, I'm never going to eat that. That's gross. Until I actually ate it, probably within the last 2 months. And Dr. Boz has done a sardine challenge where that's why you eat for 3 days of sardines. And Ketogenic Woman, she did a sardine challenge. I'm like, you know what? On her second time around, I did it with her. Delicious. I lost a few pounds doing that. My ketone numbers went up a little bit, and it was really good. I tried to do a bacon challenge where you just eat bacon. That lasted a day and a half. So I'm going to do sardines now for the next day and a half, and then I'm going to go back to BBB&E. So if you want to join me for that, I'll post in my group. So I've got my group linked below, and I think I'm going to do a BBB&E for a couple weeks, maybe and maybe vary it up a little bit, like add in something here and there, but mainly which is beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Keep it on the high fat side. I feel that's going to help me, and especially with my thyroid. I still got some weight to lose. I've lost 125 pounds. But I've got this last 40 pounds, and it's true when they say that last weight is the hardest to get off. I'll go, I'll lose 20 pounds and I'll gain 10, and then I'll lose 5 and then I'll gain 3. And then I'm just back and forth, back and forth. So I am still experimenting. And like I said, I tried to add in some carbs, thinking, well, maybe my body wants carbs because I've been pretty much no carb. I was no carb for a long time. And I swelled up. I was like, no way. So I'm back to the pretty much no carbs. A lot of eggs, egg yolks, really, because I'm kind of sensitive to the egg whites. That's why another reason why I stopped the bread. Beef, and then, pork and chicken and fish, sardines. So that's basically my staples right now, but you can make a lot of good things out of that stuff. So that's where I'm at. I got a Facebook group that, like I said, is linked. I'm thinking about doing an Instagram page, so stick around for that and for the link for that. But yeah, if you want to join my Facebook group, I'd appreciate it. We can share stories in there. Follow along with me. If you decide to do a challenge with us, that's good. If not, that's fine too. Do your own challenge, do your own thing. But the main point I want to get across is do your research. Do your research. Find what works for you. Okay? Get rid of the junk food. Get rid of the sugar. A lot of doctors aren't very knowledgeable when it comes to nutrition, so they're not, don't get me on my spiel and on my soapbox about doctors and medicine. But I'm no longer on my high blood pressure medicine because my blood pressure's fine since I've lost the weight. So do your research. Find what works for you. You sometimes just got to test that. You got to try foods for a while, not just one day. Try it for 3 days to maybe a week and just see, keep measurements, do what you need to do. But as more videos come out, I'll explain more into it. I might do some what I eat in a days, maybe show you guys what I buy at the store, maybe some recipes. I need to start taking measurements, like actual measurements of my body, because I haven't at all done that. I just use the scale. And I have bought a scale that's supposed to measure like your fat and your water and your bone density and your lean mass and whatever by using electrical currents in the scale. I don't know. I don't understand it. I can start posting that too. So there's a lot of information I want to share with you guys, a lot of recipes. So I appreciate you guys sticking around and joining me. Please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. This is really going to be fun with this journey for my last 40 pounds. I hope I can motivate you guys to get started, lose the junk, and eat the proper human diet. And I will see you on my next video. Bye.